Yo, Lasco Tabasco here, Lasco Atkins, Lasco 69, all the rest, you know it if you watch my stuff. Anyways, this is an interview regarding lights, stuff that I've done, that I've got, a bit of history, you know. But anyway, let's get to it. So, introduction-wise, didn't really know much about lighting until like art college, where I kind of fooled around with some sort of gels and different lighting setups. We did like a little fake music video at the time, because we never actually got like all the editing sorted and we're kind of lazy stoners. But then I went on to film school, and then again I did one job where I was DPing, gaffing, sort of sparking. Didn't really think much of it. It was right, because I always preferred the camera at the time. I was always more of a camera guy, wanted to do camera work. That's all I ever like dreamt about. I just loved lenses, the expensive stuff and all that. It was post film school where I kind of realized, like, on a low budget, helps to know a bit about lighting. Also practice DPing, you know, because I did a DPing job in film school, and it was kind of cool to be in charge of sort of both departments. But yeah, so then a couple years later, I kind of ended up buying like a whole kit of lights. So I spent about 1.5 at first, and then it was like 3, and then up to 5, and then who knows, now it's probably about 6 or something K. But yeah, so let's start off with my baby, which is my Diva light, never leaves my side. Got that for about 1.5 grand, but with the bulbs and all that stuff as well. Luckily it came with an adapter, because they're all from America. It was Kinoflow, just setting up here, so they didn't have the full basically base yet, if you will, like, you know, selling out to multiple, like, you know, clients and stuff. I mean, big end people, but not really private people like me. But I literally just walked in the door. I was like, look, someone told me to come here, he's a DP, so what do you guys reckon? Can I buy a light? And they're like, okay, yeah, why not? You know, you made the effort to come here. So yeah, then I've got a little phone LED. That's an Aladdin. I got that 100 quid at a BVE. That's quite handy. You can attach it to mobile devices, and gives you quite a little punch, because it's 100 quid, right? Charges mini USB. Then I've got an LED light, which is also Chris and the Lasco light. I've had a couple of these over the years. Originally it was just sort of like a button kind of pushy one, not really dials and color temperature and stuff like that. It was pretty cheap, but that solved the day a lot of times. I remember on a Nigerian shoot, we had no light, there's no electricity, so obviously I couldn't plug anything, but I had the Lasco light for this one last shot. It was getting dark, and then we needed a little close-up, sort of cutaway inside a purse, and then yeah, I was applauded for it. So Lasco light saved my ass a few times. Then let's move on to two of my other favorite lights, because they're so good with the Fresnel, you know, with the flooding and dimming and all that stuff. So basically, like, you have a spot and then it sort of dims, but it's kind of like, you know, mini low budget dimmer really, because if you can't afford a dimmer, then that's all you got. But yeah, they're both Aries, soft and flood. Then I've got 650 low riff of softbox. Again, I don't really use it a lot because it takes up a bit of space once it comes out. It's only when I've got some room, but it's a lovely photography light. Some DPs said that it's great for stills and all that stuff, because it's tungsten, so you have to gel it up if you want kind of daylight. Looking for that. And then I've got my 800 watt low riff umbrella bounce light, and this one, it says on the warning, don't get too close, you will get a tan. So it just goes to show how much reflection and bounce there is, you know, because it's got like little reflective sort of like metal sort of wings coming off it. And then that's, I don't really use the umbrella too much, to be honest, because that's again the bounce part. But what I do, I have it right here. You won't see it because I replace everything with my lights in the background. But this is a good sort of tungsten kind of like flood. I'd say I kind of bounce off the ceiling or off the wall, and that gives me like enough sort of, you know, for one side. So this be tungsten, that's daylight, if you can tell the difference. I don't know, we'll see with the grade. Then I've got my old redheads. So everybody starts off with redheads. Back in the day, there was a time where that's all you could get for cheap. You'd get like a kit of redheads, it's usually about 3, and then with the stands, and then you'd always need like a 2K as well. So you'd have like some 800s, 2K, it'd be sweet, be plenty. But nowadays, you know, like, no one even like uses them anymore. They're like kind of like the theater lights, like Pars and stuff, they're kind of laughed about, you know. And then when someone shows up with them or still got them in their kit, you're like, oh, the old days, you know, remember that. But they're good for, you know, night shoots and all that stuff. You still use them for, I mean, night scenes, if you gotta light up a street, because they're the strongest ones I've got. I don't have anything stronger than 1K. So, you know, I've got 4 of them now. Some don't even have like barn doors. I've got 1 with barn doors, 3 without. But I've got theater glass, which sort of clip on with croc clips, and once it sticks to it, they're great. So as I said, they're kind of low budget lights. Now let's move on to other lights that I recommend but I don't own. The HMIs are classic. They're the best sort of daylight lights you can get, really. Make sure we always got a ballast because they've got like dimmer and all that stuff, different settings. A lot of time you don't even need to gel them. I've seen on big budget sets they have an HMI at night and then they put tungsten gel on it, you know, CTO, just to sort of warm it up a little bit. So you can do lots of things because it's a nice, cool, like white sort of bluish light. So you can use it for night. Just depends with what you're going for, how much tungsten you really want. You can always add that in the grade or do it on the time. Now Kino flows, as I mentioned, my Diva is a Kino flow, but it's more of a baby version of what the Kino flows do. The real Kino flows, you can kind of take the tubes out, you can kind of have singles, doubles, fours, you can have them in a bank, which means that they're all in one. You could have like two, you could have them alternate, so you could have like tungsten, daylight, if you will. Like I do that sometimes, my lights are like running out or a bit low. But they come in different lengths as well, 2 foot, 4 foot, and they're just best. If you can afford them or get them, definitely. Even if you just get the bulbs without the unit, perfect. I mean, you can kind of hide them up in places. You know, you got to relight office scenes. You can light sort of car scenes with them and stuff. They're just amazing. Oh, it's just one of my crock pots making some noise. But let's carry on. So yeah, as I said, 4 bank, 2 bank. Twos can be used individually, which I recommend. They're quite handy. I'll tell you, like, especially in bar scenes or club scenes, they're perfect. LED panels, so not the pads, but the real big ass panels are absolutely amazing what they can do now. I mean, you've got tungsten daylight, you can dial any color temperature you want. There's lights called quasars now, which are kind of like Kino flow bulbs, and you can have police lighting. You know, you can simulate lighting, you can program it, you can preset it. I mean, it's crazy like what you can do now with them. Of course, they're like quite a few grand, and I don't really have that anymore. There's much color temperature control you can have, requires a bit more power at times. So you have like the big battery packs now, if you're not running off mains, but as I said, like they're using shoots all the time. I saw one the other day, I had like a little wireless receiver, which the guy hooked up to his iPad and he was controlling on that on Batman Bush. Not supposed to talk about that. Now, here's the little bonus tip for anybody low budget filmmakers that are trying to create fire effects. Recommend this one, which I've kind of like, you know, basically I think pioneered really, because like no one would do it because they've got like a budget to do it. Usually you do it with a flicker box with CTOs to create like fire flicker effects. If you don't have a flicker box because you can't afford it because it's low budget, I recommend holding gel in front of the light. Now this can be quite noisy, so you won't be able to do it with sound. If you are doing sound, I recommend sort of tungsten gel on top of the light, so with maybe white daylight bulbs, and then you can just kind of like tweak the dimmer just back and forth, just like give it a little flicker, if you will. We've done it once on a shoot, which is not recommended, where you take the actual plug in and out the socket. Like we nearly fused the place a couple of times. There was like mini sparks. I think my boss got shocked at one point, you know, my dickhead boss at the time, who I no longer work with, because he didn't know what he was doing really. He was doing stuff dangerously, but good for him, he got shocked. Now the dimmer is another option. So for say I did this for a shoot once, a TV scene. I had a blue gel in front of my Kino Flow, my Diva, and then I just used like the flicker. So I had the camera on static because no one else was there, and I just tweaked, you know, the dimmer button, or the switch, if you will, the dial. And that was good enough. But so those two techniques I'd recommend. So if you have sound, just use a dimmer. If you're not doing sound, you're doing a music video, which in one case we were shooting location, it was for a feature, and there was loud sort of trains and stuff, but we weren't getting sound. It was way windy, it was late at night. But yeah, that's how I did it. Just like shook it in front, you know. You might see a picture up there somewhere. We'll see if I'll pull it out of the old vault. But that's about it. Okay, so I hope you enjoy my little talk about lights, and yeah, keep experimenting, really. That's my advice. Just try different stuff, just be safe, and don't get shocked. Touch wood. Touch wood. Don't know where wood is. All right, trust me. Ciao.